Good evening and welcome, friends, to the Thursday edition of Burning Question Tonight. Remember, it was just late last evening, that Elon Musk tweeted that he is coming to India, meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Obviously, because he wants to set up one of those famous gigafactories to manufacture Tesla electric vehicles. And it seems that this has got somebody jittery. China, of course, because within a few hours, we had the Chinese government mouthpiece, Global Times, coming out with a story suggesting that Elon Musk is perhaps making a mistake because there are problems in India with supply lines. There are problems in India in terms of efficiencies, and that Elon Musk would still be better off staying in China. Now, we don't know whether Elon Musk is moving any of his extinct or existing manufacturing facilities from China to India. But the fact that even this bit of information that Musk is coming to India and meeting Prime Minister Modi, if it is making China jittery, clearly shows that there is something wrong with the Chinese economy, that they are struggling perhaps, and they want to hold on to every bit of it. I am going to be joined in by Victor Gao from China and Kishore Subramaniam from Chennai, but we also have, let me get you the headlines first, then I come back for the conversation. In a viral new video that is out, Prime Minister Modi meets select Indian gamers, tries his hand at few games. Elon Musk to meet Prime Minister this month. Announcement of investment plans likely. Big development in Liquorgate investigation. K. Kavita now arrested by the CBI. Top sources say Kejriwal likely to be taken into CBI custody next. Mamata fearmongers on CAA yet again, says ready to shed blood but won't tolerate torture. Prime Minister leads BJP campaign from the forefront, holds big rallies and mega roadshows in Uttarakhand. All right, a day after Musk announced his Modi meeting and entry into India, China has got jitters. Global Times comes out with can't do propaganda. In fact, they seem to be suggesting that Musk is making a mistake of coming to India, and we'll try to understand why they are doing so early on, because remember, Musk has not indicated in any manner that he is quitting China or moving any of his existing manufacturing facilities of Tesla from China to India. Eventually, it might happen like we have seen in the case of Apple. But joining me, Kishore Subramaniam, economist, investment analyst. He's joining us live from Chennai. Also, we are going to have Santosh Mehrotra, visiting professor of economics, University of Bath in the United Kingdom. And in a bit, we are also going to have a Chinese guest, Victor Gao. He's an international affairs expert, used to be an interpreter for Deng Xiaoping. He's someone who has closely seen the Chinese reforms to understand the Chinese perspective. But as of now, I only have Kishore Subramaniam. And Kishore, since you are in Chennai, and Chennai is emerging as the hub for manufacturing of many of electronic goods, gadgets and equipment, which were earlier being manufactured in China, you think that the Global Times, by suggesting that India might not have the wherewithal, the efficiencies to manufacture at the scale that China can, is making a mistake? What's your experience from Chennai?
Of India, but let me tell you one thing. This China plus one strategy is something which China is not very happy with. and the rise of India as a competitor in the manufacturing space is becoming a major problem situation for China. Let's not forget that India has specifically reduced the EV vehicle tax to 15% for manufacture, with the condition that in 3 years they'll have to start manufacturing. So the mere announcement of Elon Musk, without numbers, without saying that he's moving out of China, is causing jitters for a simple reason that if the Indian economy moves at 7% plus and China does not grow at that rate, and if the manufacturing starts switching to protect the global interest of manufacturing, I think China has a lot to fear in terms of the GDP share that India would take over in terms of manufacturing.
Okay, but this comes at a time when the Chinese economy seems to be sputtering, Kishore, and we seem to be doing much better than what anyone would have expected at around 8%. Chinese economy at about 5% last year, and it is believed that 8% could be the new normal for India. So obviously, it goes beyond economy. I think the Chinese are getting disturbed by the fact that India could gain corresponding clout both within and outside in terms of that economic muscle translating into India's geopolitical heft. So maybe that is the reason why the Chinese are jittery and want to stop this from happening in the case of India.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. See, what's going to happen is there are three things that are going to happen here. Point number one, if the China plus one strategy is being taken by multinationals across the globe, then India is probably the most favored nation. Point number two, if you have the BJP government, a stable government, and with inflation under control, and the only economy in the world which as an island is standing at about 7.5–8% growth and nominal growth of 12 to 13%, and is expected to continue that for the next decade, along with the fact of the matter that the youngest population, which is the largest population of young people in terms of the demographic dividends that we are talking about, then you can understand that the geopolitical muscle is going to be very high. And that is one of the main reasons why China is opposing India's permanent seat in UN. So you need to understand that if they give their neighbor this power, along with the ability of the corporates moving in, they are at a huge disadvantage, and India will eventually get there. Whether it is this month, next year, it's going to happen. It's the inevitable which China is trying to stop.
Okay, Kishore, but before the others join us, please tell us, because as I said, you are in Chennai. How has been the experience in terms of getting the human resource required for this cutting-edge electronics manufacturing? What's the ecosystem like in areas like the OMR, the old Mahabalipuram road, where all these big factories and manufacturing plants seem to be coming? And what are the takeaways insofar as these managements are concerned in terms of India's human resource capital, specifically when it comes to getting those that kind of manufacturing going?
Okay, so there are a few things we need to understand. First of all, Tamil Nadu has been the hub of manufacturing as far as cars are concerned for past 2.5–3 decades. So whether it is Hyundai, whether it is Ford, whether it is your BMW, we have been the manufacturing hub. So first, the government is pro-manufacturing, especially when it comes to the automobile industry. Point number two, you should not forget that Tamil Nadu has been the hub for automobile industry, not only in cars, even in your bikes, in Royal Enfield and the other industries. TVS has been a giant here. So we have the ecosystem of supporting the automobile industry. When it comes to the human resource, obviously we are getting into a new edge, cutting edge technology era where you need absolutely skilled people. Do not forget that southern part of India has got huge number of engineering colleges, and we produce absolute good quality engineers in terms of supporting that human capital. Labor force across India, I wouldn't deny, whether it is Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh, anywhere you have the labor force. Skill is something we need to upscale, and I'm sure corporates like Tesla or others will be able to give the necessary training if you have the volume of people. And Tamil Nadu is hungry for growth, And I believe, barring probably Bengal or Kerala, where there is communists and there is jitters for corporates to enter, any other state which has got the human capital, the volume, and the intent to provide the land bank without disruption and a supportive government, I think we are on for a takeoff. Tamil Nadu is one among the 4 states competing to get the project for Tesla. Probably it will be Gujarat, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, and NCR, the other 4, who would be competing to get that.
Okay, now, Kishore, it gets interesting beyond just targeting India's capability. The position that Global Times has taken is, and I'm told Professor Professor Santosh Mehrotra is joining us. He's visiting professor of economics at University of Bath in the United Kingdom. Kishore, before I come to you, Professor Mehrotra, we are discussing a position that Chinese government mouthpiece Global Times has taken after Elon Musk announced yesterday that he's coming to India, he's meeting the Prime Minister, obviously with the objective of setting up manufacturing plant for Tesla in India. Seems the Chinese have got jittery, Chinese are getting heebie-jeebies, and so they want to discourage Elon Musk in the crudest manner possible. They've come out with an editorial position, according to which, Professor Mehrotra, India lacks the talent, India lacks the skilled engineering and other workforce, and it has no supply chain infrastructure to sustain the kind of scale of manufacturing that China can provide. Also, it goes on to suggest that there is a negative business environment in India and the agencies, investigative agencies can go after businesses, and so you should not be coming to India, Elon Musk should not be coming to India. Professor Mehrotra, I mean, as someone who closely tracks economy and business, you think the Chinese are getting nervous?
Look, the point is that they are perfectly aware of the large Western companies as well as governments that they have adopted a China plus one strategy. So we know perfectly well that some investment has been moving out for the last several years, and a lot of it has gone to Vietnam and come to Indonesia, Thailand, Bangladesh, and a little bit has come to India. Having said that, we have to wait to see whether Tesla will actually come to India. Let's talk about Tesla rather than talk about the larger issues. If you're interested, we can come back to the larger issues. You see, Tesla, as we all know, is a top-line manufacturer of e-vehicles in the United States and the rest of the world. Now, India is a very price-conscious market. It's a very value-conscious market. And we all know that there are Indian firms already in place which are manufacturing cars here for some years. Mahindra has done its own research, in-house R&D, one of the few companies that does proper R&D. Some of it is here, some of it is in Detroit. Tata has done the same, and there are many other companies which are producing two-wheelers. What does Mr. Elon Musk, what is he planning to come and speak to the Prime Minister about? I can guess what he's planning to speak about, because this investment has been in the works, under progress, as we bureaucratically say, for some years. Why hasn't it taken off so far? We should keep that in mind. One is the very fact that they are they produce a very high-priced product, and e-vehicles, in any case, four-wheelers are much more expensive than ICE vehicles or diesel vehicles. Secondly, the battery is still very expensive in India, so we will have to wait for those prices of the battery to drop before there is a burgeoning or an increase in demand for cars, four-wheelers, while two-wheeler demand is growing. Finally, Tesla has not been committing itself because Tesla is still hoping to get a subsidy from the government of India. Now, there are enough reasons for the central government not providing subsidies to a high-cost e-vehicle manufacturer, which is going to focus on cars or maybe even SUVs. So obviously, there's going to be many people who will vote against it. And we have to think of our own economy, that if we already have at least two Indian manufacturers and other foreign manufacturers like MG, which are already manufacturing here, and others who are already
get them? Are you suggesting we shouldn't get them, or are you saying it's not worth it?
Say that again, please.
Professor Mehrotra, I was asking, are you suggesting that we shouldn't get Tesla, or are you saying that it's not worth it?
No. Look, it's not about us. It's about Mr. Musk first taking a call. Mr. Musk is going to come here, highly likely only if he gets a subsidy. He knows perfectly well, and that's what's been the bone of contention for years now. That's why that investment has come so far. We know that it will be much more high-priced than a Mahindra or a Tata SUV, which is an e-vehicle. That's really the bottom line. It's not about us.
No, in a way, it buttresses. In a way, Professor Mehrotra, in a way, it buttresses the argument that India is actually already very efficient, that we can manufacture electric vehicles at a price more competitive than what Tesla can deliver. I'm joined in by Andrew K.P. Leung, international and independent China strategist. He's joining us live from Hong Kong. And Mr. Leung, the conversation we are having is about Elon Musk and Tesla coming to India. And within 24 hours, China coming out with a position that Musk should not be doing this, that China is better than India, that China has better manufacturing infrastructure, that India does not have the supply chains and the logistical wherewithal to manufacture cars like Tesla, and that there is a negative business environment. Why you think the Chinese should be getting into propaganda mode within 24 hours of Elon Musk deciding to come to India, irrespective of whether he's going to shift Chinese manufacturing to India or not? I mean, we don't know whether he's going to do that. But the Chinese are already showing nerves.
Forget about the rhetoric. Look at the realities. The fact remains that China is the world's largest automobile market and the automobile production market. China is the new Detroit for electric vehicles. I mean, you look at the number of vehicles produced in China, it's much, much larger than in Detroit and in other places around the world. This is based on, as referred to earlier, on a complete supply and value chain for the production of cars, including batteries, including all the spare parts, components, you name it, is complete in China. And not only producing Tesla cars, China has now homegrown a lot of competitors. And these competitors are producing cheaper and high quality cars, which are selling to a lot of parts in the world. So I don't think that China is nervous about Musk coming to India. Now, the reason why he's coming to India, I think, is really to do a hedging because of the various other sanctions imposed on China's export of cars. And he may also establish a line of production in India. But to producing maybe a different model or producing a part of the cars, either for sale in India or exporting from India to elsewhere. He's a very astute businessman. I don't think he'll be bothered about rhetoric and so on. I think that the most important thing is to look behind the rhetoric and look at the realities on the ground. And as I said, the fact remains that China is the largest car producer and the largest car market in the world.
Conceded. Andrew K.P. Leung conceded that China happens to be the best manufacturing shop floor that's available in the world as of now. Conceded that it is the automobile manufacturing hub for the world. Conceded that, in fact, Tesla is not the number one EV manufacturing company in the world. It's actually BYD. It's a Chinese company. They are bigger than Tesla. But the point is that China is growing at 5%, maybe at a bigger base of. But China also is a deflationary economy. Back to back, last 4 of the 6 months, Chinese consumer prices have been going down. So while in the present, China might be at the top, but then the bell curve has sort of plateaued and it's going to come down. And as you said, Musk is a smart, sharp businessman. He understands where the future lies, and that's why he's sort of making the move. My question is that, conceding that as of now, everything what you said about China is right, the future might shift. So why grudge that? At some stage, remember, manufacturing shifted from the US or some parts of Europe to China. And now if a situation has emerged where everyone is thinking of China plus one, like it has happened in the case of Apple, so in the case of Tesla now, why should China get such jitters about manufacturing getting one more option, in this case India?
Well, whom are you asking? Are you asking me?
Yes, I'm asking you.
Okay, right. Well, as I said, I don't think that
Yes,
China's is jittering. It is one of those things. I mean, people diversified, and other manufacturers are likewise diversify their risks, and some are moving in other parts of Asia because of the political headwinds facing China. So I think Beijing fully understands that, and in fact, Musk himself make a very high-profile presence in China in recently. In the various other high-profile forum in Beijing, he was talking to President Xi, and I think that he's going to be a very strong presence in China. But in spite of that, I think he's diversifying some of the supply chains or seeking other markets other than China. That's understandable.
Okay, Kishore, another aspect which has been raised by the Global Times is that India does not have good business environment, in which the professor they are quoting says that there can be investigations against not just Chinese companies but other companies also. Obviously, the indication is towards the number of Chinese companies that are under a scanner for Prevention of Money Laundering Act investigation, PMLA investigation, for having laundered money which is not in tune with the laws of the land in India. You think the Chinese are sort of trying to suggest that because there are investigations against them, there could be investigations against others also, and sort of trying to fearmonger?
Okay, this is pure overreaction and fear-mongering for certain reasons. Let me quote the reasons. Point number 1, we have had multinational companies manufacturing automobile in this country, whether it is Ford, whether it is BMW, whoever, and they have never faced any government scrutiny, and that too unwanted. Point number 2, we need to remember that there was a big clamor for the retrospective tax with regards to the cases like Vodafone and stuff, and government clearly pointed out that they are not going for retrospective taxation, which was a clear indicator that haunting the businessmen is not the option or the focus of the government. Third point, coming to the Chinese companies that are getting banned, be it the TikTok or whatever, you need to understand that as a nation, we have economic sovereignty and we need to protect our interests. So our laws are going to be in sync with protecting the interests of the common Indian, the businessmen, and the tax laws, whether it is the FEMA, whether it is the FERA, or any economic offense. So let's understand that these large corporations which come in for production of cars, two-wheelers, or high-end goods are not going to be the companies which are going to be under attack from the government for any reason. Forget about the small things, but if there is economic offense, we have the economic right and sovereignty to protect the interest of Indians. So let's be very clear that if you are going to do business in India, as Elon Musk himself said, that if you want to do business in India, whether it is Twitter, X, whatever you call it, you have to do following the laws of the land. And that's very important. But extrapolating this whole situation, saying that we are going to be an attack, is nothing to do with. And if you are going to claim the ED, CBI, and all those things, these are political overtones. This has no reality. There is no multinational corporate which has suffered because of government interference.
No, you see, Professor Mehrotra, it's not just a perception. The fact of the matter is that Ministry of Corporate Affairs has uncovered fraudulent activities in a majority of the 500 Chinese companies that are working in India and or which are under investigation. Now, we know the famous cases of these mobile companies that are under investigation for not following India's laws or to be in breach of India's existing corporate and other laws. So while the Chinese do everything to maximize their profits in whichever manner they can, they are sort of trying to tell the Europeans that it's not a good business place to be in. It's not a good place to do business in. While it's the Chinese who are breaking laws, who are sort of manipulating the situation to make sure that their profits are maxed.
Well, Mr. Kapoor, I think I'm not going to get into this political sling match. Let's remind ourselves that the level of human capital in our country still leaves a lot to be desired, despite the fact that the educational level and the skill levels of our workforce have improved and increased dramatically in the last 20 years. Point two, you're absolutely right in believing that the states where any foreign company is likely to invest is going to be either the southern ones or the western ones, and that's where the level of human capital has been consistently higher, and that's why they've managed to attract much more foreign direct investment than the other states, the northern states or the eastern states. Having said that, we also know that our supply chain issues are there. But despite all this, I think we need to remind all our international viewers and our competitors that for the last 20 years, India has become a major manufacturer of automobiles or of two-wheelers, of three-wheelers, and we are a major exporter because from 2006 to 16, we had an automobile manufacturing plan. From 16 to 26, we got yet another extension, 10-year extension of our automobile manufacturing plant. That is the reason why the vast majority of foreign firms are producing here, and they've managed to create a value chain and a production chain. However, in the EV space, the production chain still is to be built up. So, there are pros
Professor
as well as
Mehrotra,
cons.
you seem to be contradicting yourself. Just a while back, you said that we are already doing good with the Mahindras and the Tatas having a very fantastic ecosystem and producing at a much lesser price.
Don't put words in my mouth. I'm not contradicting myself at all. Among the industries that we have managed to set up in our country, there are two industries where we are competitive on a global market, which is one is automobiles, two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, and the other is pharmaceuticals. But in the vast majority of other industries, we are not. Point two, I'm saying that there are only a limited number of states where they are going to, which are going to be attractive enough for a Tesla to come. But all this is neither here nor there, Mr. Kapoor. I think the bottom line is Elon Musk is going to make that investment if and only if the subsidies are forthcoming, because Tesla is a high-cost company. It's a high-cost car, and India is a very value-conscious market. Very simple. And this has been the bottleneck for all these years. That's why Elon has not come here. Simple. Very simple.
No, we should not forget
Professor Mehrotra, so the basics that I understand.
Sorry,
yeah, Kishore, let me just add before you respond, and then I go to Professor. Then I go to Andrew K.P. Lung. No, Kishore, hold on. Kishore, hold on. Just to make a sense of what Professor Mehrotra said, and just to add my bit. Professor Mehrotra, the basics, the minimal understanding of economics that I have, I think whatever subsidies the government gives, the government is already giving or already has programs of subsidy like the viability gap funding, among others. And then, apart from that, it's not that India is going to give something which the Chinese have not given. It's perhaps Chinese have given much more. And that's why the Chinese are laughing and saying, can India provide the kind of business environment that we do? So while the Chinese, while talking about socialism, have gone completely capitalist, we continue to remain dogmatic about socialism and not giving to capitalists the kind of subsidies that are needed to provide a level playing field vis-a-vis China, right? So obviously, you can't have it both ways. You can't have the cake and eat it too, or eat the cake and have it too, as it is said.
Abhishek, if I may, let me boil it down to simple terms. And what's the bottom line? The bottom line is the following. Electric vehicles are four-wheelers are not exactly being subsidized by the government of India for anyone. Point one. Point two, if Elon Musk is going to build a factory to manufacture Tesla, which is a high-cost e-vehicle, then they are likely to expect a subsidy. Now, we have to ask ourselves, is it in our interest to provide a high-cost manufacturer a subsidy to manufacture e-cars when a very small proportion of India's population can actually afford these cars? So are these cars going to generate, if they are manufactured here, are they going to be for export? These are matters of detail. They have to be worked out. Let's not get all excited.
I'm sure those would be discussed. I'm sure those would be discussed.
Exactly. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. I have one counterpoint to
Yeah, granted. Absolutely, Professor Mehrotra.
Yeah, I have a
quickly 30 seconds, Kishore, because I have to wrap up. 30 seconds.
Okay, I have a counterpoint to Professor saying that India is a value-conscious market. Let's not forget that Merck's largest sale in the last 3 years have continuously gone up. So, and you also will not forget the news article where, 8 crore plus North Coast apartment in Gurgaon, more than 200 of them were sold in a single day. India.
No, that's not a good. No. Kishore, the fact of the matter is the mass market in India is a very value-conscious market. You have to concede to the professor on that. But what is important is that we have shown, like in the case of Maruti, like in the case of the latest being the digital public infrastructure, the UPI mechanism, so in the case of electric vehicles already, in fact, that when it comes to the brass tacks, India can deliver. Professor Mehrotra has some valid arguments in terms of the policy detail, which obviously would be looked into by the government. On that note, I have to come to an end of this conversation. Thank you so much, Professor Santosh Mehrotra and Andrew K.P. Leung for joining us at a short notice, as also Kishore Subramaniam.